beautiful ladies. Welcome back to another episode. If you are new here, hi, my name is Jessica, aka the Sacred Rebel. And if you are a returning veteran, welcome back. I truly appreciate everyone that has tuned in for their support and love when I first started this project, as well as the continuation of that love and support. And it's always been my personal goal to help alleviate any stress or suffering that may occur from being a woman in this day and age, because there's been a lot of things that I wish, someone was taught me, or I had information, the resources to access. And at the time I didn't. And so I created this podcast to be a light and a resource to those who may be going through some struggles in their spiritual life and connecting with themselves and trying to better themselves and acknowledge that they do deserve the life that they wish to experience. And I know some people usually would say, like, oh, just they won't learn if they suffer just a little bit. And the thing is, it's like, here's the thing. I don't believe that a person needs to go through unnecessary suffering in order to learn something. We, as humans, are social creatures, and the best way that we are going to be able to achieve harmony in our goals and dreams is by helping each other. It's so much easier to help another person the best way you can than to just be like, oh, they'll learn. No. And I wish I had someone to teach me some things growing up. I wish that I had a mentor and, like I said, a resource. But yes, this podcast for the ladies is here as a resource, a beacon, a light to shine on common issues that we are going through. And if you are a male and you're listening, that's fine too. You can share this with your sister, your aunt, your mother, your grandmother. You can share this with anyone that you believe that could be that can't talk, that can benefit from listening to me. And if you want to further listen, give my video a like, subscribe, click on the little bell icon to get a notification of when I upload my podcast episodes. Any type of support is greatly appreciated. Now, into this lovely episode. So, 2 weeks ago, I was thinking about what to talk about for this episode. Sometimes I don't always have a list of things to talk about, but this is definitely a topic that I have noticed that women still go through this till this day. And it is having a self-limiting narrative about themselves, as well as on how to release old beliefs. Now, as I said before, 2 weeks ago, I was having, some ideas bouncing around about what I wanted to talk about. And then within a week or so, I got my period. Now, when I get my period, hormones are raging around. And from time to time, I will have a self-limiting belief pop up in my head. Any other time, I can ignore it. I can slap on some affirmations and acknowledge that I am not what these dark thoughts are. I am much better. I am brilliant. I am great. But when the defenses are down, when that veil is down, especially during the week of my period, I get very, very vulnerable and I get very existential and I will just cry. Most of the time, I would cry. And I remember I was working and I was crying while I was working. And I had a meeting too. And I'm so glad that they did not ask us to turn the cameras on for the meeting because I did not want anybody to see my tear soaked face over the Microsoft Teams meeting chat. So I'm glad this is like the one meeting that the lady was did not ask to have our cameras turned on because I couldn't. And I remember my boyfriend walked in and he was asking me about something and then he looked at me. He said, "Have you been crying?" And I was like, "Yes, I've been crying all day." He thought it was because of one thing, but I told him like it's because of an overall magnitude of things, but don't worry, I'll be fine. Which eventually I was fine, but it was definitely a struggle to get through work that morning, hormones. Yay, hormones. But yeah, I definitely had some self-limiting beliefs about myself that still do pop up, and I still work on these beliefs that I've created myself based on how I was raised and what other people told me. And yeah, it did stick a little bit. And yeah, sometimes I hurt my feelings. But I know who I am as a person. I am not what the people have told me growing up. I am more than that. So, self limiting narratives. Now, the nature of a self limiting narrative, which becomes part of a belief system within a woman, this is basically what I call the killer of all dreams, the killer of the divine self. And this can happen from any time. It can originate from early childhood, it can originate from social conditioning, it could be cultural, or from trauma. Now, this is basically having thoughts that are basically personal and also thoughts that are conscious and subconscious that restrains a woman from achieving their full highest potential and or experience the happiness that they deserve, the joy that they wish to have. And a few examples of like having a self-limiting narrative would be thinking that you're too old to do something or too young. You don't deserve the success, even though you're very skilled at what you do. And that is part of imposter syndrome. I do have an episode on that. I'll link it below. And the most common thought that a woman can have is, I am not good enough. Now, having these thoughts can create a mental and emotional blockage in the body. And this can definitely damage how a woman sees her self worth. to the point where she starts attaching her self worth to certain things that she's doing or to other people. And the number of times I have done Reiki on different women, that is the number one energy that I'm always pulling from the body is low self-esteem and emotional blockages. And having these emotional blockages basically is like a preventative from stepping into her true divine feminine power, her true creative potential, because she doesn't believe she can do this when she can. And I myself, there's been many times where I've thought that I couldn't do something and I would stay away from certain things for a long, long time until one day something, a little voice would tell me. That little voice actually became a big voice, got loud, and would say, "You can do it. Let's just let's just go this route and do it." And a good example would be I didn't think that I could be a holistic life coach. I thought I was not good enough until one day I said to myself when I was really beating myself up, enough is enough. I know I can do this. And signed up to learn in a spiritual life coaching school. And here I am now working towards achieving the goals of helping the next woman from struggling and stressing out unnecessarily too much. And sometimes we just can't really recognize when we are doubting ourselves in something. And this this has been going along far, far long enough. And as women, we need to start waking up. We need to start realizing that we have more control in our lives than what we think. We may not be able to control the thoughts and actions of others, but we can control our own thoughts and actions and control mostly the destination and the direction that we are going to go. Now, when it comes to this having these self-limiting narratives, you have to start recognizing where it's coming from. Because I can sit here all day and be like, oh, you gotta start releasing, your old narratives so you can change your belief system. Because here's the thing, and I failed to mention, the only way that you are truly going to connect with your divine feminine self is releasing the old self. And that comes from releasing old belief systems that were created before. Because you can't take old belief systems that just does not work into the new era of your life. It just doesn't work like that. That's like, all right. A good example would be, all right, that's like if I were to check myself into a rehab because I have an addiction problem. Maybe it's a shopping addiction. I'm trying to go light here for you too. I go to rehab to change my life because I have a shopping addiction. I get better. But then I go back and start hanging around people and spaces that basically supported my addiction as if nothing happened. And then I'm back to being a shopping addict again and spending all my money and being broke and can't pay my bills. When you want to step into a new life, you're going to have to make a change. You're going to have to be willing to make a change. You're going to have to be teachable, because if you can't open your mind to new ideas and perspectives, then you're going to be still stuck in the same space that you were before and still complaining, why hasn't my life moved forward? Why do I not feel good about myself? Because that's definitely a problem that a lot of women go through, is they expect for good things to happen but refuse to let go of the things that kept them in this little hole that they placed themselves in. And that's how releasing old beliefs, that's how it's like. You have to release those old beliefs and those self-limiting narratives in order to basically achieve happiness in your life. You have to go through a personal evolution and connection with yourself, but many are too scared to do so. But when you want to recognize a self-limiting narrative, take the time when you are doing something and then you start to have a doubt in your head. Take note of how many times have you had a negative reoccurring thought? How many times have you had a negative behavior pattern pop up? Take note of that, because when you start taking notice to certain things, because sometimes we do stuff just to do stuff and it's like it's automatic. We're doing shit automatically. We don't think about it. It's like breathing. We don't think consciously to breathe. Subconsciously, our body is breathing and we're just moving along. It's until where we start to think about it. Oh, maybe I should control my breathing. Then you're like, you take notice in your breath. And you can take notice if you're able to take deep breaths or not. Or if something feels a little raspy. When it comes to your thought patterns and behavioral patterns, when you start taking notice of these things, you're going to see, I can guarantee you, you're going to see at least 5 different things that probably will shock you or disgust you. Because again, like I said, a lot of us are running on autopilot instead of manual. That's how a lot of people proceed through life. It's just automatic. They just don't think. They just get up and just go and just do. And this is how we lead having an unfulfilled life, because we're running on autopilot most of the time, not being aware of a lot of things. And then once you acknowledge these thoughts and other like physical patterns, you're going to start pinpointing when and where the self-sabotage is happening. What moments that is stressing you out that causes these thoughts and these patterns. Like, an example would be something at work stressed you out. Now you're mad and now you feel like you need to go drink in order to feel better about yourself. You get into an argument with like your spouse. Then you get into these negative thoughts that you're not good enough for this marriage or relationship. And then you start like getting into these negative, deep projections. And these are deep cuts that are happening. So when it comes to releasing these self-limiting narratives, releasing these old belief systems, because here's what happened. When we start to believe something about us is true, that downloads into our self-conscious, and that's what writes our belief system. I am ugly. I do not deserve this. This writes into our subconscious. And even if we're not consciously thinking that we're ugly, every time we look in the mirror, our self esteem plummets because we look at ourselves and we're like, damn, I don't look good. I look X, Y, and Z. I look this way. That's how a belief system is created, through these subconscious narratives. And the best ways to basically start releasing this, and I'm going to share with you some of the things that I've done and some of the things that I looked up, did a little research, because that's what I do. I research shit. Different ways on how to combat this and put you on the map in the direction of, hey, you want this life, this is the direction that you got to go. And yes, you're going to have to put in a little work. And that's okay because, sometimes we just got to get our hands dirty. Nothing is going to be handed to us freely. Now, some of the things that can be done to keep self-sabotaging, sorry, I can't talk, to keep self-sabotage happening often. One part would be rewriting your mindset. Now, what I mean by rewriting your mindset, and as I said before, during the week of my period, the thoughts that I had about myself that I'm not good enough for X, Y, and Z, they were strong because I was vulnerable, and it was like a hammer in my head. Now, when you think that you are not worthy of something, I am not worthy, you want to turn into, I am well deserving of this blessing. I am worthy of success, love, and happiness. Now, when you start rewriting the narrative, rewriting your mindset, this will submit the message to the subconscious, because the more times you do this, the more your subconscious is going to start believing this, and then it's going to really boost your self-esteem. Instead of saying like, damn, I am ugly, say, I love my cute features. I love my dimples. I love the color of my eyes. I love my smile. I look so cute. I am gorgeous. The more times you do this, the more times it's just going to tackle the subconscious. It's going to basically argue with the subconscious like, hey, look, this is new information. You need to take this. And then the subconscious is going to be like, okay, well, I'm starting to believe this too. And it's going to make it easier for your conscious to believe in itself. I can do this. And then when you look in the mirror, you're going to feel great about yourself. When you see your image, you're going to stop doubting yourself, and you're going to basically stop playing yourself. The mirror exercise is really good with this. You're telling yourself affirmations in the mirror. I don't mean the mirror exercise from the Twin Flames universe. That is a mess. I am talking about the regular mirror exercise where you look at yourself in the mirror and then you tell yourself that I love you so much. And you tell yourself all the good things, all the great things that you have accomplished, all the great things that you are going to accomplish. You keep doing this, and trust me, it's going to help you in the long run. Now, another thing that can be done is journaling and writing letters to the self. I used to do this a lot. I forgot the website. If I ever could remember the website, I will share it below. There was this website that basically, I think it was like called futureme.org. You can write a letter, type out a letter to yourself, and then you can set a time to receive this letter from your past self. And one day you'll come to your email box and you'll see, oh, here's a email for myself. I've done this several times where I would write an email to myself and it'll be some of the most empowering, beautiful messages that I sent to myself. And this should be done in the moment where you are at your best, your strongest, and you type out your strongest affirmations. You pour all that love into that message and then you send it to yourself in a future date. And it can be at any frequency. You can do it once a week, twice a week. You can send yourself a message 3 years from now. I have sent myself a message a year from the day that I have wrote the message to myself. And it, like I said, it's very helpful because when you get your thoughts out on paper or see your thoughts on a screen, it doesn't matter, paper or screen, it really does help surround yourself with positive thoughts and feelings, and it does hold you to the highest light. And it is one of the best ways to confront certain things as well. So writing definitely helps with problem solving a lot of times. Now, another thing that can help out is writing affirmations. When you write affirmations, think of affirmations as like a powerful spell. And these spells are your own personal energy. When you write an affirmation, you are exposing yourself to very powerful messages. And I am sorry if you heard some background noise. That is my sugar gliders. They're active now. When you are writing affirmations, you are writing powerful spells of love, compassion, success, empowerment. And affirmations are things that you say to invoke that power because words do have power. And words definitely are, how do I put this? They can definitely make or break a person, put it like that. They can definitely make or break a person. They can either uplift a person and make them feel like they can fight a whole army, or they can undo a person. That's why, and I told this to a friend earlier, sometimes we are our own worst enemy based on what we tell ourselves. We can give a damn about what other people think most of the time, but when it comes to ourselves, that's when we can't escape. We can't escape ourselves because obviously we're here 24/7. So when you get into like affirmational healing, you can either go to YouTube and find like a video that a person is speaking the affirmations to you and meditate on that. You can look it up online, different affirmations that you could print off and put on your wall or in a space where you're going to see it every day. Or you can create your own affirmations that are tied to you and your energy, and this will make you feel 100% great. Now, there are additional things that can be done in regards to help healing that rift in yourself, help with identifying old beliefs and self-limiting narratives and help releasing that. And these additional ways are basically what I do: energy healing, aka Reiki. This is a good way, as well as EFT, which is emotional freedom technique, which is tapping on certain parts of your body in order to release a thought, a loop. And I won't really talk about this. I can share a link below on what exactly is what I do, Reiki, and EFT, which is something I don't do, but I have done it before with someone, and it is very releasing. Now, doing all this stuff is nice, but it doesn't mean that the work is done. It's just only beginning. Now, if you really, truly, really want to completely reset the playing field, rewrite new narratives, there are power moves that you do in order to do this. And this is where it stops a lot of people because it's very hard. One power move would be forgiving of any past doings, past wrongdoings is what I'm trying to say. And the thing is, a lot of people hold themselves in the past. They have one arm in the past and the other arm in the future, and they're holding on to the past, and it's hurting them. It's like a weight, and they're trying to hold on to this weight, and they're afraid to let it go because it's so familiar. And oh my god, what would it be like to heal from this? They don't know, and so they're scared because they don't want to forget. And the thing is that if you keep holding on to the past, you're never going to fully be in the present and live a fruitful life. And of course, you can't change what happened in the past. The past is the past, it's already done. You can't control that. But what you can do is forgive yourself for the choices that you have made in the past. You can also forgive the wrongdoings of others if they have done anything to you in the past. And this is not to wash over what they have done. It doesn't, especially if it's a terrible deed. It doesn't absolve another person of the crime, but it's forgiveness in the form of letting go of what you cannot change and acknowledging that it's not your fault and that you are ready to move forward and live your life, enjoying happiness instead of being a victim of the past. That's what forgiveness is there for. Another powerful thing to do, another power play, is holding space. Holding a ritual space for yourself to give yourself a chance for closure. This is very important because some people would be like, well, yeah, I forgive. And there goes my gliders again. I forgive, I forget, and then they just move forward, but they don't do anything to properly release that energy. And so sometimes it's still there, it's still in their heart. And it has a person in a chokehold. Now, the reason why people don't really do a proper like release ritual is because it is uncomfortable to potentially remember a past situation or something that has happened. It is very uncomfortable, and no one loves to be uncomfortable. But I listened to a few radio stations before in the past, and I came across the Steve Harvey show. And I know most people don't like Steve Harvey, but he did say some really good shit on the radio show one day. He said that you're going to have to work on getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, because if you don't like being uncomfortable and you try to avoid it, you're not going to get nowhere in life. You have to work on being comfortable in uncomfortable situations as you are working towards your personal growth. And this, in having a ritual, is like that. You're going to be uncomfortable for a moment, but once you release, it feels like a 2-ton weight is off your head and your shoulders. You feel much lighter, and you're able to release the emotional chokehold that is on you and be able to breathe better. And these rituals can look in different ways. It can be writing a letter to yourself or to whoever hurt you and burning it. It can be like a cord cutting ritual. A simple way of doing it is getting 2 candles, some twine, tie the candles basically, you know, in front of each other, and then burn the candles and letting them like release in a cathartic way that way. Or you could have a small group together and share stuff with each other to release. Me and a friend, we basically released people that were in our lives that were not good for us. We took some pieces of paper, wrote their names down, and we started burning them. We started burning the names to like release them back and call our energy back. There's many different ways that you can have a holding space ritual, but it is very important to hold space, grieve for a moment of the things that you're letting go, and that's normal, and then move forward from that. Now, the last few parts, I would say it's optional, but to me, it's really not optional. This is something that will help solidify and tie everything together, put a little cute bow on top of your gift of the new life that you are creating. So, obviously, when you are done with releasing old belief system by changing your narrative, you forgive yourself, you held space to release these old things that are like holding you back in past situations and situationships. Now, what do you do? What do you do? Well, first, you create a positive daily ritual, an empowerment ritual that you do each and every day to keep you on track. And this can be from like stretching at sunrise, meditating, basically performing some sort of self-care for yourself every day or most of the days when you can, when you if you have the time, of course. But you have to also create time for yourself. Now, the next would be visualizing yourself at your best and call that version in. It's basically along the lines of meditating. You have to see yourself as a successful person. You have to want that person to be there. If you can't see yourself being successful, then you need to go back and figure out what is blocking you from seeing yourself at your highest potential. You have to like go back and ask yourself questions. Are you still holding on to something? Is there still a little bit of doubt in you? Do you have fear of success? Because baby, I'm telling you, in order for you to like achieve the life that you want, you have to own it. You have to basically act like it's already here. You gotta be a little delulu sometimes. And being a little delulu is good for the solulu. That's all I can say. And the last thing is to surround yourself with a positive support system. And this is going back to what I mentioned about like the shopping addiction. If I went to rehab for a shopping addiction, got out after I was done, and then went back into the same spaces and people that has this the same addiction that supported that addiction, then next you know I'm back to being a shopping addict again. That's not healthy change. If you wish to embody healthy changes, healthy mindsets, you have to surround yourself with people of that same ideal. You don't have to be doing the same thing, but if you're surrounding yourself with other women and other people that are basically all about uplifting each other, all about self development, self improvement, this is going to help you out tremendously. You will be able to get shit done 10 times faster than someone trying to do it all on their own. And that's the shit that I'm going to talk about in a different episode is when you're trying to think that you have to do everything on your own when you don't. You don't have to. That is a trap. I'm telling you, it's a trap. But yes, having patience and compassion for your journey as it can be a challenge, but rewarding in the end. And you have to have a whole lot of patience when you're doing this journey of connecting with yourself and listening to the messages and directions from source in order to move forward and move accordingly in a certain way. Because I said to a friend earlier, I do not believe that God, source, the universe, put us on this planet to sit around, suffer, and then eventually die and be forgotten. I don't believe in that. I believe we are here to achieve great moves. We are here to live a life that is fulfilling and fruitful. However, that may look, as long as it's not harming animals or people, we are here to achieve great things. But again, a lot of people are asleep and they need to wake up. So, that is it for this episode. This is probably one of the longest episodes I ever made, but I did feel like I wanted to share all of this with each and every one of you. And again, it is my hopes that this will help the next woman in line from unnecessary suffering and stress. Because again, many of us, we walk around here with the blinders on and we don't know a direction or have a light shine on what is going on. And my hopes is that someone is relating to this and someone can use this information that I'm sharing as, a little handbook like, okay, I'm going to try this out. There are many things that can be done in rewriting the mindset for releasing old beliefs and combating self limiting narratives. But obviously, I'm not going to fit everything in one episode. I only presented the strongest ones that I have done, and I've known that it worked for me, and it can work for you. So until next time, ladies, much love. I love you, and stay blessed. Bye.